Right now, today, there is something being quietly taken from you. Not by a person you can identify, not by a system you can complain about, by your own mouth. By the specific words you speak about your financial life before the right moment, to the wrong people, in the wrong conditions, with the best and most innocent intentions. You are doing this. You have been doing it for years. And every time you do it, something that was building toward you slows down, or stops, or arrives depleted of the power it had when it began its movement in your direction. This is not a metaphor. This is the precise spiritual mechanic that the ancient teachers of Israel encoded in law, in text, in practice, and in the warnings they passed through generations of families. And today, I am giving you the 3 specific things you must never speak about. Not because silence is weakness, because silence, in these 3 cases, is the lock on the vault. I am Rabbi Naomi. I have spent 32 years inside these texts. My lineage of teachers goes back through a chain of transmission that does not break, and what I am sharing today has been in that chain for as long as anyone in it can trace. This is not esoteric knowledge reserved for scholars. It was whispered by mothers to daughters before weddings and before business meetings. It was the quiet counsel of grandmothers who watched too many blessings dissolve between the mouth and the ear. It is among the most practical, most immediately applicable spiritual teachings I have ever encountered. And it is almost entirely unknown outside the communities that preserved it. Before we continue, type the words, "I guard my blessing," in the comments right now. Now. Before I give you the 3 things, because the act of declaring guardianship before you know what you are guarding is itself a form of the principle I am about to teach. Silence protects what the mouth has not yet been given permission to speak. Type it, then stay with me until the very last word. The closing of this teaching contains the most important instruction of all. Leave early, and you have the list without the armor that makes the list work. Let me tell you about a flame. A single flame just lit, the moment the match has touched the wick and a small fire has come into the world for the first time. That flame is real. It exists. It has genuine heat, genuine light, genuine potential to become something large and lasting and warm. But in those first seconds of its life, it is the most vulnerable it will ever be. A breath extinguishes it. A current of air that you would not even notice with your skin can take it completely. That same flame, given 60 seconds to establish itself, to strengthen its hold on the wick, to deepen its connection to the fuel, can withstand what would have ended it in its first moment of existence. Your blessings are that flame. Every financial gain, every opportunity moving toward you, every deal in formation, every new income, every unexpected provision still in its early stages, these are flames that have just been lit. Real, existent, carrying genuine potential. And every time you speak about them too soon, every time you announce them before they are established, share them before they have taken hold, expose them to the breath of other people's reactions, doubts, questions, and even their well-meaning excitement, you are doing to that flame exactly what the current of air does. Not with malice, with your mouth. Now extend the image further. A flame that has been burning for an hour can withstand almost anything short of a bucket of water thrown directly at it. The same wind that extinguished it in its first seconds of existence is now no threat at all. The difference between the flame at 1 second and the flame at 1 hour is not the flame. It is the time it was given to establish itself without disturbance. This is exactly what the tradition is teaching when it tells you to hold a blessing in the storehouse before you speak of it. You are not hiding your good news forever. You are giving the fire time to become a fire, rather than a wick that has been touched and taken away from you, before it had the chance to become what it was meant to become. Now let me give you the root cause, because if you do not understand why this happens at the level of spiritual mechanics, the 3 rules I am about to give you will feel arbitrary. And arbitrary rules do not survive the first moment of temptation to break them. The Talmud, Tractate Baba Metzia, page 42, contains a ruling so precise that the great commentators have spent centuries unpacking it. Rav Yitzchak states, "Blessing is not found in something that has been weighed, measured, or counted. Not in something that has been made fully visible, not in something that has been fully quantified and exposed." He derives this from the verse in Devarim, "God will command blessing to be upon you in your storehouses." In your storehouses. In the place that is hidden from the eye, not on your doorstep, not announced in the marketplace, in the concealed place. And the Talmud draws from this a practical halakha, a legal ruling, not a spiritual suggestion, that a person should not count their money in public, not because counting is wrong, but because the act of full public exposure removes the object from the domain of blessing. It removes it from the storehouse and places it on the doorstep. And on the doorstep, what was meant for you is available to everything else. This is the root of the law of the Ayin Hara, the evil eye. And I want to be precise about what the evil eye actually is, because the popular understanding of it is shallow, and the shallow understanding makes it dismissible. The Ayin Hara is not a curse sent by a malicious person. It is not superstition. The Talmud addresses it in Tractate Barachot, in Bava Batra, and in multiple other places, because the rabbis treated it as a real phenomenon, with real spiritual mechanics. What it describes is this: concentrated human attention, particularly the attention of envy, of comparison, of wanting what belongs to another, carries a spiritual force that disturbs the energetic stability of its object. When you expose your blessing before it is established, you expose it to the undirected attention of everyone who hears about it. Some of that attention is purely supportive, but some of it carries the invisible weight of comparison, of envy, of doubt. And a flame not yet established cannot withstand that weight. The Zohar goes further. It teaches that the spoken word is a creative force, that when a human being, made in the Tselem Elohim, the image of God, speaks something into the world, that speech has a spiritual impact on whatever it touches. This is why the Torah is so specific about the words spoken in ritual contexts. It is why blessings are said before eating, before performing commandments, at the transitions of sacred time. Because words shape the spiritual reality of what they touch. And when you speak about something that is still in formation, still moving toward you from the spiritual root toward the physical expression, you are shaping it with your words. And with the words of everyone who responds to your words. The formation is vulnerable. Your speech is the most direct exposure you can give it. Here are the 3 things, specifically, with no vagueness. The first thing you never speak about: financial gains that have not yet fully arrived. You have been offered a contract. You have been told a deal is moving forward. You have an investment that is growing. You have been informed of a payment that is coming. The money exists, in some form, somewhere in the process between its origin and your hands. It has not arrived. It is not in your bank account. It has not been deposited, cashed, confirmed, and settled. This is a flame in its first moments. Do not speak of it. Do not tell your spouse the amount before the check clears. Do not share the deal with friends before the document is signed. Do not announce the contract before the ink is dry. This is not pessimism. This is not fear that it will not arrive. It is the deliberate act of keeping the blessing inside the storehouse, in the domain of the hidden, where Rav Yitzchak said the blessing rests, until it has solidified from the spiritual domain into the physical. The moment it is in your hands, fully settled, it has established itself. Then you may speak of it, carefully, to those who genuinely share in your good. But not before. Not one word before. The second thing you never speak about. A plan that has not yet become a reality. You are going to start a business. You have an idea for an income stream. You are planning a significant financial move. The plan exists in your mind and in the divine potential of the future, but it has not entered the physical world yet. It is entirely in formation. It is the most vulnerable thing you possess, because a thing not yet born has no defenses. And when you speak about your plan before it exists, you do not simply share information. You expose an unformed spiritual creation to an audience whose reactions will shape it without your control. Some will be supportive, some will doubt. Some will casually say, "I knew someone who tried that and it did not work." None of them intend harm. But the doubt their words introduce, the seed of second-guessing that takes root in you after a conversation that went slightly less enthusiastically than you needed, that is the ayin hara in its most everyday form. It is not dramatic. It is not a curse. It is a small, consistent leakage of the spiritual energy behind your plan, caused by premature exposure. Work in silence. Build in silence. The plan that is brought into the physical world quietly, protected by the concealment of the storehouse, arrives stronger and faster than the plan announced while still unformed. The third thing you never speak about. A blessing that has just arrived. This one is the hardest, because the natural human impulse, the healthy, joyful, relational impulse, is to share good news immediately. Something wonderful has happened. You want to tell someone. And in the ordinary texture of life, this impulse is beautiful and right. But in the specific spiritual mechanics the tradition teaches, a blessing that has just arrived is still in the process of settling. It has reached the physical domain, yes, but it has not yet taken root at the level of the neshama, the soul, which is the level at which it becomes truly, permanently yours. The Talmud in Pesachim teaches about waiting for a good thing to settle before speaking of it widely. The Kabbalists developed this into a specific teaching. A blessing freshly received is like water just poured into a vessel that has been empty for a long time. The water is real, it is there, but the vessel needs a moment to absorb it, to establish the new state of fullness, before you tip it toward others. If you tip it too quickly, it spills. What seemed to arrive completely can, in the first hours and days after its arrival, still be disturbed by the energy of other people's reactions to it, by envy, by excessive questioning, by the casual weight of opinions offered by those who do not understand the full dimensions of what has been given to you. Give your blessing a day. Give it 3 days. Let it settle. Let it root. Then, from a place of established abundance rather than fragile newness, share it with those who will strengthen it rather than thin it. Here is the action. Specific, clear, and beginning today. From this day forward, you maintain what the tradition calls tzniut in your financial life. Most people know tzniut as modesty in dress, but the ancient teachers applied it equally to the spoken word about one's own provision. Financial tzniut means this: you do not speak about money you do not yet have. You do not announce plans that have not yet materialized. You do not share news of fresh blessings in the first flush of receiving them. You develop the discipline of the storehouse, of keeping what is yours in the hidden domain until it has solidified, established, and rooted itself in your physical reality. This will feel unnatural. That is the first thing I want you to know. We live in a culture that rewards announcement, that treats the sharing of good news as connection, as gratitude, as joy. None of those things are wrong, They are simply poorly timed when applied to an unestablished blessing. The discipline of tzniut in financial speech is a muscle. It does not exist in most people who have not been taught it. You will feel the pull to tell. You will have to make a conscious choice not to. And in the first weeks of making that choice consistently, you will feel something shift in the quality of what is moving toward you. Plans that had been stalling will begin to move. Gains that had been arriving depleted will arrive with more of their original force intact. The leakage will stop, not because nothing around you has changed, because the storehouse is no longer losing through the door that your mouth was leaving open. One more instruction. Where you once broadcast, you redirect into prayer. When you feel the urge to tell someone about the financial thing that is still forming, speak it instead to God. This is not a lesser act than sharing with another person. In the tradition, it is a greater one. The prayer that carries the specific content of an unformed blessing is among the most powerful prayers a person can offer, because it is addressed directly to the source of what it speaks about. You are not announcing it to the world. You are conferring with the one who sent it. This is not isolation, it is precision. And there is a second redirection that the tradition teaches alongside the first. When you feel the specific pull to share, and you will feel it, because it is habitual, and it is social, and it is deeply wired into how most of us experience good news. Write it down instead of saying it. Keep a private record of what is forming. A small notebook, a sealed note on your phone, something that belongs entirely to you. The act of writing satisfies some of what the impulse to speak is reaching for. The need to acknowledge the blessing, to make it feel real, to mark the moment. But writing to yourself keeps the flame inside the storehouse. It does not expose the forming thing to other people's reactions. Over time, that notebook becomes one of the most remarkable spiritual documents you will ever own. A record of blessings held, protected, and allowed to arrive in full. A testimony to what the storehouse principle actually produces in a life that applies it. What you will notice over the following 4 to 6 weeks as you practice this, and I have watched this pattern with remarkable consistency across the people I have taught, is that financial developments begin to arrive more completely. The deal that used to fall apart at the last moment holds together. The income that used to arrive and then immediately be absorbed by an unexpected expense arrives and stays. The plan that previously lost energy between inception and execution maintains its momentum because you have kept it inside the storehouse where the blessing rests. These are not dramatic events. They are the absence of the drainage that you had come to accept as the normal texture of financial life. When the drainage stops, what remains accumulates, and what accumulates, in time, overflows. What I have given you today is one of the most specific and actionable pieces of the complete system. The teaching on the spoken word and its relationship to financial flow. It nests inside a much larger architecture: the home environment, the sacred calendar, the physical practices around money, the inner accounting of belief about one's own worthiness to receive. Any one element of the complete system, applied sincerely, produces movement. All of them applied together produce transformation. The full teaching is available at the link in the description below. If you are ready to build the complete vessel rather than fill one corner of it, that is where the architecture lives. Let me prepare you for what is coming in the first week of applying this practice. Because the test is predictable, and knowing it is coming is the only protection against it. In the first week, something will happen that you very much want to tell someone about. A financial development, a promising conversation, a movement in a direction you have been hoping for. And it will feel genuinely important that you share it. The desire will feel reasonable and even necessary. This is the exact test. Not a dramatic spiritual crisis. A simple, ordinary impulse to speak before the time is right. The test is always ordinary. The response required is always the same. Redirect it to prayer. Hold the information in the storehouse and watch what happens to it when it is protected rather than exposed. The first time you pass this test, you will feel something settle in you. Not pride, something quieter and more substantial than pride. The recognition that you have chosen, consciously, to work with the spiritual mechanics of your financial life rather than against them. That choice, made once, becomes easier the second time. The second time makes the third time easier. This is how the discipline is built. One sealed word at a time. Tell me in the comments, what surprised you most in today's teaching? Was it the Talmud ruling about the storehouse? Was it the third category, the blessing that has just arrived? Was it the reframe of tzniut applied to financial speech? Tell me the one thing that landed most specifically. I read every comment, and I will respond to as many of you as I can. Your answer tells me where the real gap has been in what people were never taught. If you want this teaching delivered week after week, the complete system of ancient wisdom applied to the financial life, subscribe now and turn on the notification bell. Next week, I'm going to reveal the specific day of the week when your financial decisions carry the most spiritual weight. When the choices you make about money on this one day shape the entire quality of what moves toward you in the week that follows. Most people make their worst financial decisions on this day without knowing its significance. Subscribe so you are there when it arrives. And if today's teaching gave you language for something you have lived but never been able to name, if you have watched blessings dissolve in ways you could not explain, and today something clicked, press the like button. There is someone in your life right now who is announcing a deal before it is signed, sharing an idea before it is built, telling everyone about an opportunity before it has arrived. They are losing what they are not yet keeping. Your like is what puts this teaching in front of them. May you become a keeper of your own storehouse. May the blessings that are moving toward you find the door closed to every influence except the one that sent them. May your silence be not the silence of poverty, but the silence of the vessel that is holding something too important to risk. And may what you have protected in the hidden place be returned to you in the open place, multiplied, established, and permanent. Shabbat Shalom.